going on, everybody?
Are you doing it?
Yes, I am stream.
Are you doing the? Are you
Am I streaming? Yes, I'm streaming, Sweet Pea. I'm giving people time to come into the room, Sweet Pea.
Good afternoon. Thank you
Surprise,
for
surprise. I
joining
didn't
us
expect
today.
this, folks.
I know that many
See if I can get some sound on it.
in Louisville and across the Commonwealth and country have been anxiously awaiting the completion of our investigation into the death of Miss Breonna Taylor. Prior to this announcement, I spoke with Miss Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, to share with her the results from the grand jury. Many of you in this room know that I had the opportunity last month to meet in person with her and other members of Miss Taylor's family, including Miss Bianca Austin and Miss Janiyah Palmer. I want to once again publicly express my condolences. Every day, this family wakes up to the realization that someone they loved is no longer with them. There's nothing I can offer today to take away the grief and heartache this family is experiencing as a result of losing a child, a niece, a sister, and a friend. What I can provide today are the facts, which my office has worked long and hard to uncover, analyze, and scrutinize since accepting this case in mid-May. I urge everyone listening today to not lose sight of the fact that a life has been lost, a tragedy under any circumstances. The decision before my office as the special prosecutor in this case was not to decide if the loss of Miss Taylor's life was a tragedy. The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. There is no doubt that this is a gut-wrenching, emotional case, and the pain that many people are feeling is understandable. I deeply care about the value and sanctity of human life. It deserves protection, and in this case, a human life was lost.
My apologies for the stream getting broken up. I'm going to bring it back in just 1 second. But just to let everyone know, we're just going over the comments from the Attorney General there. And there has been an indictment, but from everything I understand, that the indictment is far lower than what it should be. So I'm going to bring it back.
It was determined that while we would share information to advance our respective investigations, we must also maintain some level of separation to ensure the integrity of each investigation. When examining issues regarding potential civil rights violations, we determined that any such violation are better addressed through a federal-led investigation, and issues involving potential criminal acts concerning the shooting are better addressed by a state-led investigation. With this in mind, our investigation focused on the events that took place in Miss Taylor's apartment on March 13th. In the months since taking this case, our dedicated team of prosecutors and investigators with more than 200 years of combined career experience conducted a thorough investigation to better understand the events that led to Miss Taylor's death. The team is here with me today. I want to personally and publicly thank them for their tireless work. These men and women are true public servants who for months have shown up every day with a desire for one thing, and that is to seek the truth. We decided while we would examine materials gathered by LMPD's Public Integrity Unit, we would need to conduct our own independent investigation and start from scratch in the interest of thoroughness, fairness, and finding the truth. There was no video or body camera footage of the officer's attempted execution of a search warrant at Ms. Taylor's residence. Video footage begins at the point that area patrol officers arrive at the location. Therefore, the sequence of events from March 13th had to be pieced together through ballistics evidence, 911 calls, police radio traffic, and interviews. We utilized information from the Kentucky State Police, local medical examiners, as well as working with the FBI Crime Lab in Quantico to secure a trajectory analysis and ballistics report. Our team conducted interviews in this case and spent thousands of hours examining all of the available evidence. We concluded our last interview in this case this past Friday and began our grand jury presentation on Monday. As long as the case is making its way through our legal system, I can only speak in general terms about our independent investigation and findings. As the prosecutor, I am prohibited by the Kentucky Rules of Professional Conduct from making public comments that could in any way prejudice this case as it moves forward. Each state has different rules about what prosecutors can and cannot say. The Kentucky rules are clear that I'm prohibited from making comments that could sway public opinion or heighten public condemnation of those involved in the case. These are crucial rules to ensure due process under the Constitution. When prosecutors prematurely release information about the case to the public, it can risk justice by poisoning the jury pool, violating the accused's rights to a fair trial, and even jeopardizing the final verdict. The success of our legal system is predicated on the principle that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. Despite passions, opinions, and desire for every detail to be known, the rule of law must apply. Justice must be done. In the early morning hours of March 13th, officers from LMPD executed a search warrant at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4. This was Miss Breonna Taylor's residence. The officers were advised by superiors to knock and announce their presence in serving this specific search warrant. The scope of our investigation did not include the obtainment of that warrant by LMPD's Criminal Interdiction Division. Federal law enforcement partners are conducting that investigation. Sergeant Mattingly and Detectives Cosgrove and Hankinson had no known involvement in the preceding investigation or obtainment of the search warrant. They were called into duty as extra personnel to effectuate the service of the search warrant. They only had information conveyed to them during their prior briefing. Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended, in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there is no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicates that only 1 shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through
I have
a
myself on
bedroom
mute temporarily.
window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child. There is no conclusive evidence that any bullets fired from Detective Hankinson's weapon struck Ms. Taylor. The KSP ballistics analysis did not identify which of the 3 officers fired the fatal shot. After receiving that information, I asked the FBI Crime Lab to conduct its own analysis to see if they reached the same results. The FBI ballistics analysis concluded the fatal shot was fired by Detective Cosgrove. Our office looked at both reports to determine if there were major differences in the procedures used by each lab that would have led the FBI to identify who fired the fatal shot. Both law enforcement agencies use similar equipment and analysis, and each lab is highly respected for their work. There was nothing our investigators could point to, nor anything provided by the respective agencies, that directly explains why one lab made the call while another did not. I think it is worth repeating again that our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Secondary to this justification, the KSP and FBI ballistics analysis reached different conclusions, creating a reasonable doubt in the evidence about who fired the fatal shot. I certainly understand the public's desire for answers, and many have questioned the length of the investigation. Simply put, we had to try every means necessary to determine who fired the fatal shot before the investigation could be completed. With a thorough and complete knowledge of all evidence collected in this case, lawyers with our Office of Special Prosecutions presented the findings of our independent investigation before a grand jury comprised of Jefferson County residents beginning on Monday and concluding today. In Fletcher v. Graham, the Kentucky Supreme Court said that the grand jury has competing but balanced functions. On the one hand, its purpose is to investigate allegations of criminal conduct and determine if there is probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. On the other, the grand jury serves to protect the public against unfounded criminal prosecutions where probable cause is lacking. The grand jury is unique in our criminal justice system because it operates independent of the court and the prosecutor. The hallmark of the grand jury is its independence from outside influence. This independence is necessary to ensure that justice is done both for the victims and for the accused. After hearing the evidence from our team of prosecutors, the grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson for 3 counts of wanton endangerment for wantonly placing the 3 individuals in apartment 3 in danger of serious physical injury or death. The charge of wanton endangerment in the first degree is a Class D felony, and if found guilty, the accused can serve up to 5 years for each count. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. My office is prepared to prove these charges at trial. However, it's important to note that he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During the last 6 months, we've all heard mention of possible charges that could be brought in this case. It's important to understand that all of the charges that have been mentioned have specific meanings and ramifications. Criminal homicide encompasses the taking of a life by another. While there are 6 possible homicide charges under Kentucky law, these charges are not applicable to the facts before us because our investigation showed and the grand jury agreed that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Let me state that again. According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. This justification bars us from pursuing criminal charges in Miss Breonna Taylor's death. The truth is now before us. The facts have been examined, and a grand jury comprised of our peers and fellow citizens has made a decision. Justice is not often easy. It does not fit the mold of public opinion, and it does not conform to shifting standards. It answers only to the facts and to the law. With this in mind, we must now ask ourselves, where do we go from here? Will we continue to prosecute the charges brought in this case as it now proceeds through the justice system and moves to trial? That is our responsibility. And this will be done while the FBI continues its investigation into potential violations of federal law. I know that not everyone will be satisfied with the charges we've reported today. My team set out to investigate the circumstances surrounding Ms. Taylor's death. We did it with a singular goal in mind, pursuing the truth. Kentuckians deserve no less. The city of Louisville deserves no less. Every person has an idea of what they think justice is. My role as special prosecutor in this case is to set aside everything in pursuit of the truth. My job is to present the facts to the grand jury, and the grand jury then applies those facts to the law. If we simply act on emotion or outrage, there is no justice. Mob justice is not justice. Justice sought by violence is not justice.
Man, shut your step.
It just becomes revenge. And in our system, criminal justice isn't the quest for revenge. It's the quest for truth, evidence, and facts, and the use of that truth as we fairly apply our laws. Our reaction to the truth today says what kind of society we want to be. Do we really want the truth, or do we want a truth that fits our narrative? Do we want the facts?
I want you to shut the hell up. Okay, folks. Hate to start today's episode with that foolishness, but it is what it is. This is where we are. If I heard him correctly, and I was in and out, but it sounded like they're charging this officer with putting the lives of the neighbors in danger. Not for killing Breonna Taylor. Did I hear that right? Because I'm listening to it at the same time as you, and was trying to take care of the kids on the trampoline. But did I hear that right? That they are charging this officer for recklessly or wantonly endangering the lives of the people next door, not for killing Breonna Taylor. That's a slap in the face. And because it hinges on, first of all, let me go back to the beginning of what he was saying. This man, and David, when you could chop this up, at the beginning what this man said was he as a prosecutor cannot act to influence the decision or the prosecution or the trial, but then he actively puts out there information that is clearly meant to influence the outcome of the trial. So it's another example of them telling us that the sky is green and the grass is blue. He's telling us that what he's getting ready to do in this press conference was not going to be anything that was out of order, would not influence. It was just the facts. But everything that he presented was the word of the cops, which is clearly biased. They have an incentive to lie to protect their police officers. See, here's the thing. To these people, including that black man, truth and justice is wrapped up in their perspective. And they tell us that this is truth and justice, and we just have to accept it because it's moral and right before the law. But when in actuality, it is the opinion and it is the position of police officers who are trying to protect one of their own. And yet he expects us to accept it as though it's simply him adjudicating fair justice. They're giving us poison and telling us it's candy. I'm at a loss. Well, here's the deal. I'm not at a loss for words because Breonna didn't get justice. No, sweetie, don't do that. Go over here. I'm at a loss for words because of how absurd and how absurdly he presented this. And it wasn't enough to not give her justice. I fully expected for her to not get justice. But it wasn't enough for her to not get justice. They had to get, hey, you about to go inside. It wasn't enough for her to not get justice. He had to go above and beyond to exonerate in this press conference the police officer of doing anything wrong in the killing of Breonna Taylor. You see the difference? I did not expect for them to give her justice, but I did not expect for them to throw salt on the wound by saying that we're not going to charge them for anything, not even reckless endangerment of Breonna Taylor's life, not even involuntary manslaughter or reckless, whatever the charge is. None of that. Jeremiah McInnis Dixon. It was the neighbors. He charged this man for the neighbors. So he went above and beyond to insult us. That's the thing. It's like, it's one thing for you to not give us justice, but to go above and beyond to insult us. That's the thing I got a problem with. And to tell us that what you're doing is just a statement of fact, but the statements of quote unquote fact that you're giving us are nothing more than the talking points from police officers that you expect us to accept as the truth. Do you see the difference here? You see the distinction I'm making? That man, was it Daniel Cameron? David Cameron? No, David Cameron's from the UK. Daniel Cameron. That man is one of the quintessential examples of a collaborator of color. Black people who, a person of color, period, who is not only not a threat to this white male Christian power structure, but they're collaborators with that white male Christian power structure. Daniel Cameron is like, his mentor is Mitch McConnell, the same Mitch McConnell who denied President Obama his pick in Merrick Garland, but is now expediting the pick for Donald Trump. Yeah, all skin folk most certainly ain't kinfolk. Let me know what the volume is like. I don't know how loud the kids are in the background. If you can hear me, I mean, you could obviously see they're working my nerves. But I want to make sure that you can hear me fine and not hear them too much. Um, Again, I want to restate this, and then maybe we'll change the subject because I had Ron. Thank you for the super chat. Um, Today's episode of the podcast was pretty grim and intense, and I usually don't come out here in the backyard to repeat the grimness and the intensity, but we had to cover this. Um, but I'm tired of a system telling us that their crimes against us is justice. That's what they're doing. We have a system that tells us. No, how did I put it on the podcast this morning? Be sure to go to iTunes and download today's podcast. It really, I mean, I always speak from my soul, but this one, it was from a different place. Um, how did I put it? I said that powerful people use their power to convince as many people as possible that everything that they do is right and just. And then they use their power to convince everybody that anyone who opposes them is evil. The best example I can give you of this is Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse is the 17-year-old man who traveled across state lines to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and killed 2 Black Lives Matter protesters. He is on the side of the white male Christian power structure in this country. And I'll play the clip of Bill O'Reilly again so everyone can understand why I, with just clarity and certainty, say the white male Christian power structure. Kyle Rittenhouse was there on the side of the white male Christian power structure. Everyone else that was protesting was there protesting the white male Christian power structure in some form or fashion. Kyle Rittenhouse kills 2 people. They raise him $1 million for his defense. Fox News last night plays a video of him, and essentially wraps him in the image of a hero. So this is what I mean when I say the powerful use their power to convince everyone that everything that they do is just, moral, and right. This is what I mean. They've convinced America that Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero, and they spent so much time convincing America that someone like Tamir Rice or Trayvon Martin were villains. You see what I'm saying? They're telling us that the sky is green and the grass is blue, that up is down and down is up. And they do that because they can't have anyone believing that justice is not on their side. The reason Daniel Cameron just wrapped all that BS that he just gave us, he wrapped it in the name of justice, is because they have to make the moral assertion that justice is on their side, when in reality, they are the biggest affront to justice. The idea of justice, the concept, the spirit of justice. Justice beyond what America dictates as justice. See, America says it was just for us to drop bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. America still says that that's just, when it clearly wasn't. America says that the Iraq War was just. They convinced half of America that it was just, when it wasn't. America convinces the world that the obscene wealth that they have, that comes at the expense of everyone else, leaving everyone else in extreme poverty, they convince the world that that's just, when it clearly is not. And so this is what I mean when I say the powerful use their power, their money, and their hold on, don't come out of there yet. I'll let you out. That power and that money, economic power and political power, they use that power to convince everyone that they are just and everything that they do is just. And then on the flip side, they use that power to convince everyone that people like you and people like me, that we're not just, that we're the evil, that we're the villains. And it's the opposite. It's that side of the equation that is really vexing me right now. The side of the equation where they're expending their energy convincing people that we are the villains. And so I feel like we're going into this period where the villains, the antagonists of the story, they're going to be written in as though they are the heroes. When anyone who really has justice, the winds of justice at their back, those of us who are really serving on behalf of the people, we know clearly who the villains really are. All right, let's get your comments. Said the kids might drive you nuts, but they'll keep you sane and grounded. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it like this. Because if I do this broadcast from my office, then I kind of forget. Momentarily, I forget that who I am is inextricably linked to me being a father. And by me doing this outside, it constantly reminds me that I'm doing this first and foremost for my kids, which means I have to operate a certain way, which means it'll keep me from doing something extremely radical that could probably get me arrested. Right? So that's why I do it outside now. They keep me grounded. Which kid was I talking to? The one with the loudest voice, the one you heard the most. Yes, this is the insult to injury. Kentucky Attorney General essentially stated that cops were justified in murdering Breonna Taylor. And I guess for them to not bring charges, see, this is the thing. For them to not bring charges, they had to make the case that what they did was right. They had to make the case that killing Breonna Taylor was right. Otherwise, they would have had to bring charges. So they expend their energy telling us that it was just. They were justified in killing Breonna Taylor. You see, thank you for asking that question, because it perfectly encapsulates everything that I'm talking about right now and that I talked about in today's podcast. They, in order to maintain their hermetically sealed bubble of criminality, injustice, and oppression, they had to make the case that they were justified in killing Breonna Taylor. And it didn't matter how much they had to bend or twist or get somebody to give a false testimony. It doesn't matter how far they have to go. There's no limits to where they will go in order to make that case. Because if they did not make the case that they were justified in killing a perfectly innocent person who had done nothing, in fact, they came to the wrong address, then they would have had to charge those officers. All right, I'm going to bring this a little closer. Oh, I got a first subscriber on Twitch. Shout out to the very first one, I think. Producer is saying, hang on, let me see. Sister Rose, you wouldn't happen to be related to me, Sister Rose. Thank you for subscribing on Twitch as a tier 1. Thank you for that. Thank you to everyone who supports the show in any format. Yeah, Bernita. Let me put Bernita's comment on the screen. And don't worry, folks. I ordered a new microphone that I'm gonna put on my lapel. It'll be here by Friday. Bernita still said, "This man just said he understands as a black man." All right. See, that goes back to the what we talked about yesterday, right? Or was it yesterday or the day before when I said that nobody does identity politics better than Republicans, because they understand the value of having a multicultural, multiracial, multi-religious, multi-ethnic coalition of people who would defend white supremacy. They don't care if you're black, gay, straight, trans. They don't care what you are, so long as you do not threaten the white male supremacist structure in this country. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Leave your comments. Post your comments. Take a pause. I'm gonna go check on. I'm gonna let them out of the trampoline real quick, and And while we take like a 2-minute pause, be sure to share everywhere, like across platforms. Let's cross pollinate. Go to YouTube and subscribe if you're on Facebook. Facebook, go to Twitch. Twitch, go to YouTube. Just go everywhere and subscribe. Give me about 30 seconds to let these kids out and send them inside with their mother. Let's go. No, you're gonna go inside. Get your choice. Y'all go inside. Okay. You can stay. Maybe Benjamin can stay, but I just need Jeremiah. Okay. Y'all can hear him screaming in the background. Lizzie, stay where I can see you then. All right, let's see what else is going on in the comment section. Thank y'all. The trampoline was farther away before. It feels like it was, but no, it's right there. It's just the focus that's throwing everything off. That's a trick question. 9, 7, and 2. I'm reading your comments. I can pull in your comment from anywhere. If you are on Facebook, on I don't just sweetie. Yes, it's a butterfly. Leave your comments anywhere, and I can include it in the conversation. Yes, so they this is the part that's funny and it's hilarious to me, right? They had a no-knock warrant, but allegedly they knocked. And the reason they had to make up that lie is because if they did not knock, then Kenneth Walker was justified in defending his property. And if he's justified in defending his property, then the officers had no right to fire back because they violated. And so at every step, you see how they conflate, how they just twist and how they distort. And they're doing it based on the testimony of a witness, right? Cool. You know how easy it is for anybody to find a witness to say anything, especially police officers who have a history of falsifying witness testimony. And we're supposed to accept all this as justice. The fact that he wrapped this every time this happens. Every time this happens, they wrap it in the veneer of justice. Uh-oh, wait a minute. TYT raid. Okay, come on over. Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We got a lot of folks who just raided us from TYT. Love it. Be sure to follow on Twitch. A raid is when a channel on Twitch dumps their people over into my channel or someone else's channel. And it looks like I got a raid from TYT. Much love. Appreciate you guys. The Young Turks. Hey, what's happening? Thank you all. Here it is. JB says, why would cops knock first if they have a no-knock warrant? Exactly. And see, here's the thing. Here's what they count on. They count on the fact that you're not going to believe Breonna Taylor's boyfriend's testimony. Sweet Pea, I love you, but go ahead on inside because I'm about to get a little intense here. You can come back out later. You find the fly swat, you can come out sooner. Yeah, take your dolls in. They are counting on the fact that you are going to believe the police over Breonna Taylor's boyfriend. They just like, oh, that's not a problem. That's not even the issue. A police officer versus the black man. The police officer says, oh, they didn't knock. They just came in. The police. No. I'm sorry. Breonna Taylor's boyfriend says they didn't knock. They just came in. The police officer says we did knock. even though we had a no-knock warrant. What kind of police officer knocks when they have a no-knock warrant? Like, these guys are always waiting for a chance to kick down a door. Yes, I am holding a Blue Snowball microphone. I No, I didn't order. I am getting ready to order today a lapel mic so that you can hear me perfectly and I don't have to lean forward and hold the microphone. But it's an outdoor setup, so you guys know I got high quality stuff. Just bear with me as I do something new here. Yeah, so he's being indicted. This is a question from Court Jester. Did you hear one of the cops is being indicted? I'm assuming you meant indicted here instead of indicated. It's probably your iPhone typing that for you. He was indicted, but not for killing Breonna Taylor. He was indicted for recklessly endangering the lives of Breonna Taylor's neighbors. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that wild? That's some wild shit, man. That is some wild shit. So here's a score, folks. The first time, I think the first case I ever really remembered being really wrapped into was the Rodney King beating in the video, and then the subsequent LA riots. I was 12 at the time, and it kind of jumped off. I remember that injustice. The next case that I was really involved with was the O.J. Simpson trial, and whatever. But no commentary on that. I just remember it because that came right afterwards. But then there was like a big gap. And I think it was a big gap because I was like busy, going to college and all that kind of stuff. The next major trial that I remember was the Trayvon Martin trial. Like I said, there's a big gap. And in the Trayvon Martin trial, what they told us is that this innocent teenager who was literally minding his own business, because he defended himself from a man or against the man who was hunting him down as a vigilante. They told us in that trial that Trayvon Martin was the bad guy and George Zimmerman was the hero. In fact, George Zimmerman, still to this day, signs autographs on bags of Skittles because Trayvon Martin was coming back from the store with the Arizona iced tea and a bag of Skittles. And so now, for a good portion of America, George Zimmerman is a hero, so much so that he signs autographs on bags of Skittles. Then, I don't remember the trial, but I do remember Tamir Rice next. A kid who was playing with a toy gun, a 12-year-old kid who was playing with a toy gun. And then I thought about Jonathan Crawford. Name just came across my mind. Corey Jones, my friend. But let me go back to Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice, 12-year-old at a park, playing with a toy gun. Officers, we saw the video. Officers drove in, and in 2 seconds, you can count it. 1, 2. They didn't ask questions. They didn't ascertain anything. They pulled up and they shot Tamir Rice. But America has told us that the cop was a hero and Tamir Rice was the villain. Okay. Let's keep going. John Crawford killed in a Walmart. Police officers don't ask the questions. They see him and they shoot him. In case after case after case, what they have to do to maintain their power without there ever being a successful threat mounted against that power is that they have to convince you, and they have to convince not even you, they have to convince a jury, which is pretty damn easy, of our peers. They are no peers of ours because they inherently view Tamir Rice as the villain and the cops that kill him as a hero. They inherently view Breonna Taylor as the villain and the cops that killed her as the hero. These are the people that they are calling our peers. Peers who look at us and instantly would believe that we are the villain and that the cops are the hero no matter what the cop does. The problem goes, so y'all mind if we change subjects? We gotta change subjects. What else is going on in your life? Go listen. If you want to hear the full explanation of why, and I'm not just doing this to promote, I am doing it to promote, but not really. I just don't want to relitigate what I covered on the show this morning. Because the podcast, especially the Patrons Full Hour, I go in full detail of how this system is required to paint these people as heroes. And Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero to them, but Tamir Rice was a villain. And I fear that we're going into a whole dispensation, a whole period in American history where people like me who were fighting on behalf of marginalized people, trying to speak truth as I see it, it's not even good enough for us to have competing ideas anymore. We're at the stage in American history where they have to crush our ideas in order to protect their power structure. You see what I'm saying? So I went over that in great detail. You can get the podcast, iTunes, and leave a review while you're there, because you know your boy is just trying to come up in the world. Let's see what else y'all are talking about. And David, I know David is working to get those videos out for me. Cool. Interesting. Oh yes, absolutely. Let me put this on the screen. If you want to talk briefly, talk about something lighter for a minute or two. How about my shirt? I would be thrilled to talk about my shirt. Are there any Doctor Who fans in the audience? Don't lose my microphone. Any Doctor Who fans in the audience? Raise your hand. Yes, we got a Doctor Who fan. Is this Sister Rose that became a subscriber? Thank you, Sister Rose, for being a Doctor Who fan as well as a subscriber. This is from, thanks, Benjamin Brooks Marks, for getting me over here. Love Benjamin on TYT. Going to be checking him out more. Appreciate you coming by. Thanks for everyone who did the raid and dumped everybody over here. I love it. Please be sure to follow. I am a huge fan of Doctor Who. And I got a real one here. Got a live one. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. Exactly. So let's talk about why. I'm not just gonna fanboy or fangirl because the Doctor now is a woman. I'm not just gonna fanboy over Doctor Who. But the reason I like Doctor Who is because it's hopeful, and it's amazing that we have to turn to fiction for hope in our society, right? We have to turn to fiction for hope in our society. And Doctor Who is a very hopeful show. It deals with a lot of, it's a kid show in a lot of ways. At least that's what people tell me. I don't really believe it's a kid show, but I think it's a really full-blown fantasy about the potential of humanity. But I have to jump into that world all the time. Like, what do you do for escapism? I have to jump into Doctor Who all the time. Anything about space. Star Trek, all of Star Trek, The Next Generation is my favorite. Captain Picard is the quintessential captain. I like Star Trek Discovery, but I jump into those things because the real world sucks, man. All right? The real world sucks. And it sucks particularly because of our politics and what's necessary to maintain the power structure that we have. See, I'm already going right back into it. Maybe I'm not meant to escape right now. Let's read some more comments. I like this from Maria. Maria. She says she was born in the UK. It's the law to appreciate Doctor Who if you're British. Here's a good question. Who's my favorite Doctor? It's tough. I think this says, the shirt actually says, you never forget your first Doctor. My first Doctor was Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. So you never really forget the first Doctor. Strangely enough, I do believe that Peter Capaldi might be my favorite doctor. He's not everybody's favorite, but I like him because he just brought a kind of a stoicism to the doctor and a seriousness that David Tennant and Matt Smith occasionally had. Now, let me be real. David Smith and Matt Smith, they occasionally had very serious moments of intensity. Peter Capaldi had it on a regular basis. Let's see how many people are escaping and leaving the room because I'm talking about Doctor Who. Oh, it's not bad. I lost about 25 people. It's fine. That's fine. Jelly Bellies? Is that what you're talking about? Jelly Bellies? Okay, I have the scarf. I have the shorter version of the Fourth Doctor, who is what was the Fourth Doctor's real name? It'll come to me. But he was the one with the hat and the scarf that was like 20 feet long. I have the 10-foot version of the scarf. Tom Baker. It came to me. Tom Baker was the Fourth Doctor. All right, let's get back to the news. Thank you guys for that break. Hey, I love when we cross-pollinate. Valu Ball just sent me a nice meme on Twitter. So I do want to play. I want to play this clip, and I might need to play this clip every single day because we need the context, right? One of the biggest things. There's two things that I want to talk about before we cut the stream today. One is the power structure. And I think it's important for me to keep going back to the power structure because a lot of people try to pretend like that power structure doesn't exist. The number one thing that people like Ben Shapiro and conservatives like Dinesh D'Souza and all, Candace Owens, they get paid big money to pretend like there's no such thing as patriarchy. There's no such thing as white supremacy. There's no such thing as Christian supremacy. They get huge money. I mean, like when I say big money, Ben Shapiro's investors spend like $100,000 a month on advertising on Facebook for him. So we're talking about real money. And they spend that kind of money because it is vitally important that they continuously confuse the masses over the nature of America's power structure. They can never let us just fully understand, as clearly as Bill O'Reilly stated in this clip, that America is run by white Christian men. They don't want you to understand that. They don't want you to just keep it, just have it as a statement of fact. In fact, they spend countless hours convincing you of otherwise. And so that's why I constantly go back to this clip of Bill O'Reilly talking with John McCain about the power structure and the nature in this country. I've been playing it. Matter of fact, you could say that's the thesis of my whole 5 years. It was the first video I did, and I bring it up at least 5 or 6 times a year. And I want to bring it up so much. I want to bring it up and play it so many times that all I got to do is mention it. I don't even want to have to play it in the future. I just want to mention it, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it was far more than just a news segment on Fox News. I'm going to play the clip. I just pulled it up. It's far more than a news segment on Fox News. It was a confession. It was a confession about the true nature of American politics. And in that confession, nobody blinked, nobody batted an eye, nobody was like, I can't believe he said that. That's because everybody knows it's true. America is run by white Christian men, and they admitted as much. Take a listen.
No, you're right. The second thing that on the left they're against is the temporary worker, as you know. We say 2 years, go back for a year, 2 years, go back for a year. They don't want that. They don't want them to have to go back.
But the strategy is...
people can come and work.
Do you understand, and I'm not saying this in a condescending way, you're smarter than I am,
sure.
But do you understand what the New York Times wants and the far left want? They want to break down the white Christian male power structure, of which you're a part, and so am I. And they want to bring in millions of foreign nationals to basically break down the structure that we have. In that regard, Pat Buchanan is right. So I say that you've got to cap it with a number. They want to bring in, you're smarter than I am, but do you understand what the New York Times wants and the far left want? They want to break down the white Christian male power structure, of which you're a part, and so am I. And they want to bring in millions of foreign nationals to basically break down the structure that we have. In that regard, Pat Buchanan is right. So
Pat Buchanan's racist ass is right. Okay. So a lot of people don't know that clip exists. I've been talking about that clip for the last 5 years. And it clearly defines, and their John McCain is like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's because everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's true. America's power structure has always been white Christian men. But they spend billions of dollars hiring people like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin. See, and no, watch. Candace Owens is a black person who's going to say white supremacy isn't real. Ben Shapiro is a Jewish person who's going to say Christian supremacy isn't real. Dave Rubin is a gay person who's going to say, oh, there's no oppression against gay people in this country. And so they play identity politics better than Democrats or conservative or progressives rather ever could, because they hire people of different identities to protect that power structure. White Christian men. Specifically, hold on, wait a minute. You said it over on Twitch. Specifically, rich white Christian men. That's the power structure. And they spend billions of dollars trying to convince you that it's not real, that there's no, what else is white supremacy if not America's power structure? If America was run by white people, then what is white? I mean, everything we've been arguing for, against, everything we've been fighting against was perfectly defined in that one clip. Patriarchy, male supremacy is what I call it. Whiteness, white supremacy, and Christian supremacy. Now, me being a man and a Christian, I benefit from 2/3 of that power structure, right? But that whiteness is an overarching, gripping thing that reaches down, all the way down. It cuts through your religion, because you could be a Christian, but if you oppose that white male Christian power structure, they'll kill you and assassinate you just as quick as they assassinated Dr. King. If you are if you're a white person, hell, if you are a white person who opposes this white male Christian power structure, they will kill you as quick as they kill Michael Reinhold. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you believe. Your job for them, if you will protect the white male Christian power structure in this country, they love you and they will enrich you. You'll be rich. You'll be famous. You'll be the Attorney General of Kentucky, because they know they can count on you. They can count on you to tell us that the just and the moral thing to do was for the police officers to kill Breonna Taylor. Why? Because if they don't say that, then it is an affront to this white male Christian power structure. Let's see what you guys are saying. I love it. Cross-pollination, just join on Twitch for me. I love it. Political shade tree. I was wondering. I was like, when I walked over, I was like, oh man, they're gonna see how big my pants are on me. But funny enough, because when I walked back, I was like, holy crap, my pants are huge. These jeans used to be tight on me. And normally I don't get up and let you see what I'm wearing underneath. I just make sure eared up is good. But damn. Okay, yes, ma'am. I would have ordered me some pants, some slacks today. How about that? Some jeans. Um, let's see what else you're saying. Oh, thank you for saying this. I haven't even read it yet. So let's see. And the white evangelicals are the present day Sadducees and Pharisees, Jesus Day, the very church folk that Jesus called. I'm gonna play one more clip, and then we might chill. I might call it a day a little early today. Let me see if I can find it. This is a clip from. Wait, nope. Let me set it up. If you heard the podcast today, you already got this. No, I'm sorry. No, if you're a patron, you already got this. This was only in the patrons episode. Go to the BenjaminDixonShow.com to become a patron. Oh, also we have a patron party on. Let's see if I can find that graphic. Oh, here it is, right here. We have a patron party on Friday night. I already reserved the DJ. The DJ is ready to come and play music from 9 p.m. till whenever, till we get tired. And we've done 2 of these before, and they've been great. I'm going to be honest with you. They're great. And the only reason I haven't done them recently is because, I don't know, I was just, rebuilding the studio and reformatting the show, and things just got busy. And I've been, obviously, as you can tell, my pants are 3 sizes too big. So I've been working out, losing weight, and I just hadn't had time to do it. But we're doing a patron party Friday night on Zoom, live music, live DJ. I might even take a chance and go to the liquor store and actually get some alcohol, because I haven't had alcohol in like 5 months or something ridiculous. No, I haven't had alcohol since the last patron party. But go to the BenjaminDixonShow.com and become a patron, and you can join us for the patron party on this Friday night. So that said, the patrons already got this in today's episode. This is a clip of someone who America used all of their energy, all of their power. They used all of their media, all of their propaganda to convince you that this person was evil. When I see this person, I see someone inherently good. Straight, not inherently good, but because of what he said, I saw him as good. And the biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now is this hysterical, in an ironic, like hysterically depressing reality that a lot of Christians really think that they are the heroes of the story, but they're clearly the villains. And I'm not talking about of just the world story. I'm not just talking about humanity and history and, actual history. I'm talking about, the actual villains in the Bible. Like modern Christians today who are serving evangelicals and serving Donald Trump and serving white supremacy and protecting capitalism. It sounds like a whole ass wasp. Yep, it's a big one. He's gone. That strand of Christianity, they think that they are the heroes of the Bible, but they are like literally the villains. They are everything the Bible teaches against. They're everything the Bible warns against. Like, they're not even the good guys in their own book. They've convinced us that people like Reverend Jeremiah Wright, President Obama's old pastor, who said goddamn America. He said goddamn America because of what America has done across the globe, because of what Americans did to the indigenous people, because of what Americans did to the Japanese people during internment, because of what America did to black people in slavery and in Jim Crow, because of what America has done throughout America's history. He said goddamn America. And he spoke that in terms of, righteous indignation, because America has done what America did in Iraq. And America brought down this entire infrastructure, its power structure, to try to crush that man and convince us that he was evil. But somebody like Jerry Falwell is good. John Hagee is good. Franklin Graham was good. Paula White supremacy is good. So I'm going to play a clip. It's a new clip that I've never seen before. It's very old, but I saw it for the first time last night. And it's of Jeremiah Wright making a very clear distinction that even in the Bible, for anybody who's a Christian or for people, even if you're not a Christian, like my biggest supporters, I want folks to know, like some of my biggest supporters are atheists, agnostics. I even have a Satanist who's like my ace, my dude. Like we've been cool since I started this show, and they are genuinely good people. So a lot of people watching this are not religious. Cool. It's not a religious podcast, but I'm a religious person. And so I deal with it, and I deal with it from the perspective of exposing the hypocrisy and the oppression that comes from white evangelicals, conservative evangelicals, the same folks who, I'm going to say this so many times that you say it. I want everybody in the audience, I want you to take this phrase and say it so often that people in your house start saying it. The same folks who used to lynch black people on Saturday night and then go to praise Jesus on Sunday morning. They used to lynch us on Saturday and go to church on Sunday. And sometimes they would go to church on Sunday and lynch us afterwards. Those are the same people who think they are the hero of the story when they are the real villains of the story. All right, so let me pull up this clip. I don't even remember how I saved it. How did I save it? Let me go to my recent downloads. There we go. Is this it? Oh, got it. Okay. This is Jeremiah Wright. He goes one step further. This man is a monster because he goes one step, monster in a good way, so folks. He goes one step further, and what he makes it clear is that, in fact, the God of the oppressor is a different God than the God of the oppressed. Now, you can, again, this is not a conversation about the existence of God. Let's just set that aside, right? Let's completely set that aside because that's immaterial. What's material about this is the application in 2020 where people are wrapping Donald Trump in the not only in the American flag, but in a cross, right? And these are the same people who try to convince us that people like you and me, they're in the chat room right now. I've seen a couple. They're in the chat room right now saying that I'm spewing evil, right? And they're using a moral justification to protect their ability to oppress marginalized communities. So it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God. It's immaterial to this conversation. I do, but it's immaterial to this conversation. What matters is how evangelicals have used the Bible as a political tool to amass economic and political power throughout American history. And in order to keep doing it, they have had to use all of their money and power and economic might and political might to convince you that we, the people who would fight on behalf of homeless people, the people who would fight on behalf of the marginalized community, they use all of their might to convince the world that we are evil and that they are good, even though they would lynch us on Saturday night and go to church on Sunday morning. All right, I set it up enough. It's about a 2-minute clip. Hold on to your seats. Here we go.
And it pertains to what Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah said. Look at verse 18 again. They say, we will not serve your God. Tell your neighbor, don't miss this. The God of the oppressor and the God of the oppressed are, by biblical definition, two different gods. Pilate and Jesus were serving two different gods. Not only were they speaking two different languages, not only were they living in two different worlds, but they were also serving two different gods. The God of slavery is a different God from the God of the slave. Listen, the enslaver's God is a different God from the God of those being enslaved. Let me help you. The God of white supremacy is a different God from the God who came to set the captives free. The God who supported apartheid, the God who approves of shock and awe, the God who winks at collateral damage, the God who rubber stamps the racist exploitation of a people and all the world's resources. That ain't the God who took on the form of a servant and became obedient even unto death. Because beware of who you're talking to. You might be talking to somebody serving a different God. Listen, the God who says that black folk are inferior is not the God who said, I made you in my image and you are mine. The God of sexism is not the God of Sojourner Truth or of Harriet Tubman. The God who loves America and America only is not the God whom Jesus said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The God of preemptive strikes is not the God of peace. The God of greed is not the God of grace. The God of those who are on the decks of the slave ship is not the God of those who was riding beneath the deck saying, oh Lord, have mercy. The God of a lying president is not the God of a loving provider. The God of the have-mores is not the God of the have-nots. The God who lets the poor die because of selfishness is not the God who became poor for our sakes and who died for our sins. The God of a king who puts people in a fiery furnace is not the God who gets in the furnace along with them people so that when they walk through the fire, their clothes won't even smell like they've been near smoke. And I ain't talking about Allah and Yahweh being two different gods. They're the same God. I'm talking about the God of the slave holder, Nebuchadnezzar, and the God of the slave, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The God of the colonizer, Pilate, and the Italians. And the God of the colonized, that's Jesus, and the Palestinian. Those are two different gods. The God of a king who keeps secret prisons is not the King of Kings who always keeps sacred promises. I'm through with that.
Come on, talk to me. Hang on, let me get my camera back up. Man, let me take this out because you get. Hey, I want everything good. H.264. H.264. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Sorry, that was producer. Help me, somebody. Let the atheists in the audience say amen. Come on. Let the agnostics in the audience say amen. Let the Satanists in the audience say amen. Because what we have been living under for the last, since America has been a group of religious zealots who use the Bible as a way to justify slavery, to justify the genocide of the indigenous people, as a way of justifying Jim Crow, justifying the internment of Japanese people during World War II, justify Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They use Jesus to justify lynching us. They use Jesus and the Bible to justify the murder of Breonna Taylor. And they think they have the moral righteousness on their side. No. You all are the villain in the Bible. You are the villain. You're not even, believe in God or not, you're not even saved. You're not a Christian. You cannot be a Christian and you are upholding white supremacy. You can't be a Christian and you upholding capitalism that exploits and devastates people across the globe. You are not a Christian if you're upholding imperialism. American imperialism, where we're just gallivanting across the globe, dropping bombs indiscriminately for profit. Get out of here. Y'all been getting away with that murder for the longest. And it has been one of their most effective political tools. Forget about the metaphysical, the spiritual, and all the implications. Christianity has been the most effective political tool to maintain political and economic power. And now, as we get to these end times, we see who the real antichrists are. It's those conservative white evangelicals, particularly the rich ones, those who serve, and they serve white supremacy and protect it. They are the ones carrying the mark of the beast in the Make America Great Again hats. They are the ones, more than anything else, put all that aside. They are the ones who would tell you that I am evil because everything that I do fights for a system that eradicates poverty, a system that eradicates homelessness simply because we can. We could do it. Hell, let's do it. A system that eradicates violence in the form of state violence from America's military-industrial complex. No. They say I'm evil. Yet again, the sky is green and the grass is blue. And they think that they bear the lineage, the spiritual lineage of Moses and the children of Israel being delivered from Pharaoh. They think that they are the oppressed, when in actuality they are Pharaoh and the oppressor. Let's see what y'all are talking about. This is the type of Christian Nina Turner and the type of religious person, politician I can vote for. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's a I have, up until last night when I saw this clip, I had accepted that there were just Christians who manipulate Christianity for political. I accepted that they were a part, that we were all a part of the same Christian family, but we just had some Christian family members who were, for all intents and purposes, effed up and just downright evil. But listening to Jeremiah Wright, fact of the matter is that we are just completely and entirely serving two different gods. Their God honors them when they drop bombs on Iraq and kill 1 million Iraqis in an unjust war that they created intelligence around to get us into that war. See, to them, they sit down in their churches and say, oh, thank you, God, for destroying Saddam Hussein. Thank you, God, for destroying the Iraqi people. And they think that that's morally just and good. Here I am like, God, could we stop the bloodshed? I'm still here, folks. I forget that I forgot my shade for my camera. I'm still here. Give me a second. I'll put something else on the screen. I'll put some of your comments on the screen. I like this comment here. Money is God in America. Capitalism is their God. Absolutely. I got to be careful with this expensive behind camera that I bring out here outside, because when the sun hits it too hard, it kills the sensor. There we go. But I got the shade over. It's got shade over it now. We're good. Oh, no, we're not good. I might have to switch to, yeah, let me pull up. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's put this up temporarily. I hate, and I repeat, I hate webcams. If you want to see the difference between a webcam and a real camera, you just saw it. But I don't want you to think I'm not here. Yes, it is an expensive behind. It was an investment that my patrons helped me get. So thank you to the patrons for helping me get this. Let me see if make sure this shade is covering this properly, because the last thing I need to do is have to buy another one of these. So anyway, we'll do this camera until this one cools off and I can reset it. They sit around and they thank God for a victorious campaign of shock and awe in the Iraq war. Yeah. There we go. I even look prettier with the better camera. And they think that that's moral, and they think that that's just. And they look at somebody like me, who's a Christian, and they say that I'm evil because I see America as the oppressor. I see America's not inherently. America doesn't inherently have to be the oppressor. right? It's not that there's something inherently wrong with America. It's something inherently wrong with the power structure in America. It's something inherently wrong with them using that political and economic power to protect that white male Christian power structure at all costs. That's what's wrong. That's why America's oppressive. And so they look at me. I had a friend from college. He just posted this a few weeks ago. I could find it, but it's going to take a couple minutes. He saw a white woman in I think it's a shirt that said Jesus rocks, something simple, or Jesus is king, something, king, Jesus is king. And they were coming out of Walmart a few weeks ago, not back in the 60s. And he shouted out, he's a black man, shouted out to her. He said, "That's right, I love your shirt. Jesus is king." And my guy is not hyper political. He doesn't have an agenda. He is legit, like, he's one of those brothers that go to church every Sunday. I think he's like a musician, a minister of music at his church. Good dude. No political agenda. Like, if I were to tell you this story, you would be like, Ben, that sounds a little too convenient because it fits your political agenda too perfectly. Okay, so I'm not, this is on Facebook. I think it's a public post because I shared it. You can find it. He shouted out, "Hey, love your shirt. Jesus is king." And what did she say to him? She said, "I'm not talking about your black devil, Jesus." Broke that man's heart. That might have been one of his first encounters, as far as I could tell, with this level of white supremacy wrapped in Christianity. But that's been the history of America. White supremacy, male supremacy, Christian supremacy wrapped in Christianity. Tell you what I'm gonna do though. I'm just gonna cut this thing off because I don't have time to. I don't want to lose that camera. Yeah. So the gag. Here's the gag. The moral of the story of why I'm saying all this is two specific things. Number one, in order for them, this white male Christian power structure and the collaborators of color who help protect it. In order for them to maintain their power, they have to convince you that justice is injustice and injustice is justice. They had to convince you just now that Breonna Taylor was justly killed. And similarly, they have to convince you that they are the heroes of the story, of their own story, of the Bible story, of the end time prophecies. They want to convince you that they are the meek and mild Christians in the end time prophecy that are going to somehow simultaneously be both the persecuted, but if you look at how they are amassing power now, they're clearly doing the persecution. So they're trying to convince you that they are both Pharaoh and Moses simultaneously. Let me say that better. This brand of white supremacy that is wrapped in evangelical Christianity, and not just evangelical, there's some Catholic Catholicism that is wrapped in the same white supremacy. It is a power play. It is all centered around power. They have the job, their task is to sit in the seat of Pharaoh and hold that political and economic power and convince you that they are simultaneously the children of Israel being oppressed. I'm tired of looking at this ugly camera. Let's see if this is right. If we back working again. There we go. Don't fail on me, baby. I need you to come. Give me about 5 more minutes. We got 5 more minutes. If you can hang out 5 more minutes. In 2016, 80% of white evangelicals voted. That's from Dimitri on YouTube. 2016, 80% of white evangelicals voted. That's why this conversation matters, folks. And I hope everybody can appreciate the context of it, whether you are whether you're Jewish or Muslim, atheist, agnostic, hell, Satanist. I don't care what you were, because here's the deal. The truth of the matter is that that's a whole nother episode. Never mind. I don't care what you believe. It is the belief of Christianity that has been weaponized against your best interest. And it's the game and the machinations and the maneuvering of the narrative. This phrase right here, the narrative of the just, the narrative of justice, and the narrative of the just, because they understand, even more precise, the narrative of the oppressed, the narrative of the oppressed. In the Bible, the children of Israel, the coming out of Exodus, I think everybody has to know that story. The Pharaoh, Moses, and the children of Israel. The narrative of the oppressed would be the narrative of the children of Israel. The oppressor clearly is Pharaoh. Whoever in any story, I don't care where you find that story. I don't care if you find that story past, present, or future. I don't care if you find that story on the other side of the universe. No matter where you find the story, it is a universal constant, in my opinion, that the narrative of the oppressed, the people who are oppressed, have justice on their side. Doesn't mean it's always going to work out. Doesn't mean they're going to always win. Doesn't mean any of that. But it does mean that justice is on their side. And because these manipulative, Machiavellian monsters understand that, they have spent the last few centuries, they have spent since Constantine, since the foundation, since they separated Christianity from its subversive roots, right? Christianity was subversive. It was a threat to the Roman Empire. They have spent centuries simultaneously controlling the narrative of the oppressed while being the oppressors. You dig? You see what I'm saying? They have mastered the art over the last 2,000 years, give or take decade or whatever. They have taken the last 2,000 years to master the art of simultaneously being Pharaoh and the oppressed children of Israel. Not for any other reason than publicly co-opting the narrative of the oppressed. Because so long as they can pretend as if the war on Christmas, we can't say Merry Christmas, narrative of the oppressed. We can't say prayer in school. Yes, the hell you can. Just say it to yourself. You don't say it in groups. You're not gonna let Muslims pray 3 times a day as a group. But it's a war on Christianity. See, it's constantly a war on Christianity, war on Christianity, war on Christianity. When at the end of the day, they've got everything. That's because they have perfectly crafted and honed their ability to simultaneously be Pharaoh as well as the children of Israel. And that's why that's a huge part of why we are where we are right now today in this predicament that we are in. Because we're not just fighting against a political power, we're fighting against a political power that understands how to manipulate religious political power. All right, that's enough of that. I think I'm done. There's still about 500 people here. So everybody who is here, go to Twitch. Not subscribe. Well, you can subscribe. Thank you for subscribing if you do subscribe, but at least follow. Follow me on Twitch. And then everybody on here, go to YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. And that's it. We'll do more of these. If the sun is out, I'm going to be in the backyard doing this throughout the rest of the pandemic. And if the sun is not out, if it's raining, I'm going to do it from my garage. Because I'm kind of tired of being behind my studio lights in my office and stuff. So this is much more conducive. Thank you all. Love somebody, love on somebody, be kind to somebody. When we can be kind, be kind. When we can't, take no prisoners. See you next time.